voice of Nassau Community College.
A 2019 Marconi Award finalist from the National Association of Broadcasters.
This is 90.3 WHPC.
WHPC HG Garden City.
Available anytime on your smart speaker.
And anywhere on iHeartRadio.
WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. Remembering Rick Ocasek, who died yesterday following the death of the money man, Eddie Money. Two New Yorkers, by the way. Eddie Money, born in Brooklyn, grew up in Levittown boy. Not the most famous Long Islander to make it as a rock and roller, but definitely in the top 10. And definitely one of those cool guys you just see, even though he was Eddie Money. Never a cop, by the way.
No, I know, brother.
What?
You're going to say Billy Joel.
I would say.
But you know who else you have to throw in there that people always forget to throw in there?
Pat Benatar.
Pat Benatar.
Yeah, but,
And the Stray Cats.
And the Stray Cats, of course. But they were only a couple of years. Billy'd be the leader.
Stray Cats from Massapequa.
Of course.
Bro, give me a set of headphones over there. You got headphones in? I got no headphones over here.
You do. They're around the corner. You just didn't get them. Anyway, Rick Ocasek was found dead yesterday. I was reading it's either 70 or 75. He always looked old. So even when he was young, he
looked old.
Yeah, so...
yeah, I don't know. The whole 70-75 thing, they're basing that on Wikipedia. We don't have a better source?
Yeah, well,
Wikipedia's a terrible source.
But you know what? A lot of people use it.
I know they do, which is fine. It's fine for the masses. But when I read it in a newspaper that it says, oh, well, he was either born in, what do they say, 44, 49, according to Wikipedia, I'm like, dude, do better.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? A journalist is saying according to Wikipedia? That's awful.
Well, anyway, brother, last week at this time, we were not here. We were not here. I was in the hospital.
First time we missed a show.
Yeah, I figured how many shows. It's like 270 or something.
It's a lot.
But I was in the hospital last week, and I was out of it. I was just, they were feeding me antibiotics, lots of antibiotics, which
feeding them to you. It was more it was intravenous.
Well, that's feeding you.
Well, not really.
No, it is. It's not like taking the pill, and this is literally they hook you up and they say, okay, 30 minutes, we'll be back. So I had some problems Saturday morning with shortness of breath, and then I went to the hospital, which I normally, as you know, brother, would not do. I would just sort of
totally out of character. Glad you did, though.
And
glad you made that decision.
They found some things that maybe weren't right. There were a lot of low levels of a lot of low levels. And then they said, well, guess what, Mr. Leonard, you're going to stay here. We're going to give you IVs of antibiotics until you get better. And it took 6 days, which is way longer than I thought I was going to be in. So
hospital stays are not quick, brother. For the most part, especially when they find something, they're not quick.
Well, they always have to wait.
They got to make sure you're healthy before you leave.
3 doctors have to come in and check you, and I was on a diabetic diet, even though I'm not a diabetic. And then it was funny, brother. You'll get a kick out of this. When I was in the ER part, the overnight doctor comes up to me and goes, "Do you drink a lot?" And I go, "No, I don't actually. I haven't drank in really a long time." And then I said, "Well, I had a shot of tequila 3 weeks ago." And he goes, "You're not lying to me, are you?" And I said, "No, I'm not." He goes, "You're not going to have the shakes on me here." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?"
I'd be like, "Dude, do you want to fight me or what?" It's like really insulting questions.
Well, I think
are you sure?
My nose is slightly red.
You do have a red nose, bro. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It just lends an air and more of an air to your Santa Claus joviality.
Yeah, so I was like, I don't drink. I wish I did. I haven't drank in a really long time. No one wants to drink anymore.
Everybody's healthy.
Well, it's not just that.
Everybody's into the keto and the gluten free.
People also don't want to drink at 9 o'clock at night. They want to drink at 3 o'clock in the afternoon now. So that's.
I don't have an explanation for that. I drink at night. I'm not much of a day drinker.
All my friends, and some of them are now day drinkers. They start at 2, they go home at 6, they have dinner, they go to bed. It's the truth.
Yeah, it's called getting old.
Yeah, it is. It is. So anyway, we're back. We're on our way to starting another 5-year unbeaten streak where we just keep coming in every week and doing this show from the Press Box every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. The show is also a podcast later on at Spreaker.com and iHeartRadio. We're on the iHeartRadio app. We're on the TuneIn.com app. And we begin somewhere, and that's nccradio.org. Find out about all the great programming here at the radio station. And I mean that. There's a lot of great programming here. Matter of fact, right after us at 10 o'clock, Big Ed with the Good Gold
Great
Show.
program.
Anyway, brother, where do we want to start?
Don't we have a guest, brother, that you want to maybe
Oh, that's
mention?
right. Well, we should. Last week we were going to do a recap of the U.S. Tennis Open. But because of what happened, I just, I said, well, we'll skip it. So
we had to postpone the U.S. Open.
Yeah, but then I was talking to Tim, and I was talking to other people, and I was talking to the guy we're going to have on, Dan DeRosalia, and I said, you know what? If we skip a week and come back to it, maybe we don't spend 20 minutes on it, maybe we spend 15 minutes on it. But there's actually a lot of things.
10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes. But there's a lot of actually things to talk about with the U.S. Open, and we'll talk about that. We'll be talking with Dan about 20 to 10. Anyway, brother, I know you want to talk about the Yankees first, but tough crap. We're going to talk about the Mets because you know what?
Disaster.
You know what?
Disaster has set in.
You can't when you have to win every game and the team ahead of you is winning every game, the Cubs.
The Cubs.
You can't lose to the Dodgers.
You can lose to the Dodgers.
You can't.
But you can't blow leads to the Dodgers.
Well, that's
You can't lose games that you should have won. And that's precisely what the Mets did last night. They should have put that game away. Zach Wheeler did a great job, went 7 strong, and the Mets bullpen once again imploded. And this is their good guys. This is the only 2 guys at this point that Mickey Callaway trusts. It's the only 2 guys that Met fans trust. Justin Wilson and Seth Lugo.
Yep.
And those guys last night, as George Steinbrenner famously would say, spit the bit.
Yeah, well.
And it's sad because Justin Wilson came on in the 8th inning, and what does he do? Walk, balk, wild pitch. You got a guy on third with no outs. Yeah. I don't even understand how that happens.
He hit everyone that you'd want him not to hit.
He gave up a leadoff walk, which is never a good thing to do. And then he stumbled on the mound. As he was coming forward to throw the pitch, his right foot, he's a lefty, so his right foot is his lead foot, it caught on the dirt in the mound and threw him off balance. He had to catch himself so he didn't fall down, or better to not throw the ball because who knows where it's going to go.
Right.
More than likely, it's not going to go anywhere near the catcher. So it was a smart thing to do, but I don't know how that happens in that moment. When the Mets are just clinging to a lead, and again, this was their safety net. These were the guys. And let's go Wilson, let's go Lugo, and let's get this win and get out of here. Take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, and we're in good shape.
And of course, you would not want to do what I would have kept doing if you don't believe in your bullpen, which you can't really believe in this bullpen right now. If your starting pitcher's still doing good, don't take him out after 7th. You have 2 weeks to go. Your job is to try to make the playoffs as a wild card team. You let them pitch 9 if they're pitching okay, because I can't see, our starting pitching doing this the way the so-called relief pitching is going.
Let's put it this way, and I will say the same thing that I've been saying all along with the Mets, ever since they won those 15 out of 17 and actually put themselves in position where they could be considered a wild card contender. But until the Mets get 10 games over 500, This is all a lot of talk about nothing.
Right now, they're 5 games over.
Right.
I'm looking at the wild card thing right now. You have Washington and Chicago.
The Cubs are the team they're chasing. Don't worry about what the Nationals are in. The Nationals are in. The Nationals aren't even a consideration.
Don't forget Milwaukee is ahead of the Mets.
Milwaukee is ahead of the Mets. Exactly.
So
that is. I mean, that's why yesterday's game was so big. The Mets right now are 4 games behind Chicago. I heard a stat last night that said only a few, I think we're talking 3 or 4 since the wild card started, 3 or 4 teams have made up 4 games in the final month of the season to get a wild card spot. The Mets now have to do that in 13 games.
Which they're not.
We really need to start to be...
as much as I want to believe in my Mets, I really think in the 2 weeks they have left that it's, it's not going to happen.
I am all for optimism. I am all for you gotta believe. I am all for Met fans living the dream and for thinking as long as they want or they can that yes we can do this.
Right.
But the reality is this. The Mets have 13 games left, I believe.
6, 9, 12, 13. Yeah.
13 games left. They need to go 12-1.
Yes,
and then they need the Cubs to do no better than 8-5.
Yeah,
So the Cubs would have to go let's say 7-6.
Yep, they'd have to really fall off.
And I'll tell you right now, the Cubs could do something like that. Javi Baez, their MVP from last year, is out. He got hurt. Anthony Rizzo yesterday rolled an ankle. It looked gruesome.
Ouch.
I don't know if he tore a ligament or anything, or if it's just really badly sprained. But he had to be helped off the field yesterday. So if main cog guys in the Cubs lineup continue to drop off like that, I mean these are they're 2 of their middle of the order hitters. So that's a gaping hole in their lineup. The Cubs pitching staff isn't all that great in the first place.
Right.
I mean, it's probably overall it's probably worse than the Mets.
At
least the Mets have starters.
The only good thing maybe about the last 13 games, you got the Rockies, the Reds, the Marlins, and the last 3 is going to be the Braves. And the Braves have been playing well.
I mean, we've said the Braves for those last 3 games, the Braves will be organizing their team for the playoffs. So in terms of facing the Braves in those 3 games in the last 3 games of the season, I don't mind that. I'd be surprised if the Mets take anything less than 2 out of 3 in that series.
Yeah, I agree.
But again, we've reached the point for the Mets where taking 2 out of 3 isn't getting it done.
No,
because then you're looking at 8-4 or 9-4 or 8-5. The Mets literally need to go 11-1.
And if you want to really look back at the breaking point, it's when they lost those 6 games in a row last month.
But there's plenty of breaking points.
But that's the one that's closest to the end of the season where there was actually a thought that process of back in July, no one was thinking the Mets were going to do anything. They didn't really do any moves. They didn't do anything. So we said okay, and then
they got Stroman. I mean that's
okay.
I mean that was both a move I think designed for this year and for next year because here's a guy who as far as the Mets were concerned, they didn't have to give up that much to get, even though Anthony Kay has already made his major league debut for the Blue Jays,
right.
And the other kid, the younger kid they traded, apparently is getting rave reviews so far. But I think that Brody Van Wagenen made that trade with the idea of, well, you know what? Hey, if we get hot, nobody's running away with this thing. No. It's just a bunch of 500 teams in the National League. And really, I keep saying this with the 10 games over, but really that's what the Mets are. The Mets right now, they're a little bit better than a 500 team. And one of those little bit better than a 500 teams are going to make the playoffs. And it's probably going to be the Cubs, but it could still be the Mets. Or it could be the Brewers.
Could be.
But the Brewers also, they lost Christian Yelich a few days ago. He fouled the ball off his leg. He broke his kneecap. He's done for the year. That's an MVP candidate.
Oh, my God.
As far as I'm concerned, the probable MVP. But that's what's going on. The Mets right now have to consider themselves fortunate as far as injuries go. because they really haven't had too many injuries. They certainly haven't been like the Yankees, but there's been several significant players on teams that they are chasing or at least battling with,
Right.
who have gotten hurt.
Yep.
And that only helps them. But they need to stop blowing games, and they need to win games. If you have a lead in the 7th inning, you need to win that game.
That's right.
And that when you talk about 6-game losing streaks, yes, that's an obvious thing to point at. But really, you can point at any game that the Mets led at some point after 7 innings, and still managed to come away with a loss.
Right.
That is any of those games are turning points.
By the way, brother, the 17th anniversary of September 11th happened this week or last week?
18th, brother.
18th?
01.
Oh, that's right.
This is
18th,
19.
Yes. And the Mets did something, a little, they didn't do it on purpose, but it's one of those things that you would add into a story. The Mets defeated the Diamondbacks 9-0. They had 9 runs and 11 hits. So
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool.
And of course, what's wrong with Major League Baseball that they won't let the Mets wear those hats on 9/11 day?
You're gonna have to talk to Joe Torre on that one, brother.
Because it makes no sense not to.
No, because it's a branding thing. I understand.
Oh, come on.
I understand the why. I understand baseball's reason why. Do I agree with it? No.
It's
I think
stupid.
for one day out of the year. I mean, first of all, baseball is the one who forces the players to wear these softball uniforms that they wear once a year on a weekend. The whole Players Weekend thing. They call it Players Weekend to make it sound like the players are all in favor of this. I don't think most of them are. I think they would rather wear their regular uniforms. But that's baseball, putting that edict out. Why? I mean, that was the whole thing on 9/11. Pete Alonso, who I tell you what, is quickly becoming one of my favorite players. Even though he's a Met, I don't have any animosity against. I don't have any animosity against the Met. But Pete Alonso
could be our new David Wright.
Pete Alonso is like one of these face of the game kind of guys, and he wanted the Mets. He wanted to have a special cap, a commemorative 9/11 cap,
right,
that he and his teammates would wear, and Major League Baseball put the kibosh on that, as the saying goes.
See, I can understand if Major League Baseball, if they put a Mets logo on it, but they tend to just say, Port Authority or NYPD or FDNY or whatever. It doesn't have a Mets tie to it, so it's not like the Mets are making any money on it. They're not. They're still supporting our first responders, and I just don't understand Major League Baseball's stupidity and control about this.
That would be the best thing of all, is if you make a hat, you wear it that weekend for September 11th, and you donate the proceeds. You sell it everywhere, and donate the proceeds to 9/11 charities.
That would be a great idea. I don't know why they don't do that.
I don't understand why not build some goodwill and try to raise some money for some people who still need it. 18 years later, people are still suffering from 9/11.
That's right.
Whether it's the first responders with the health issues, whether it's families who are still struggling after losing loved ones, there's a lot of people who still need help, and that would be a small way of helping those people.
I agree. It makes no sense for Major League Baseball, and they're usually on top of things like this. And like you said, they're wearing the softball uniforms. Why not? And not every team has to wear it. Just let the Mets wear it. If the Yankees want to do it, the Yankees can do it. If they don't, that's fine too. I'm sure the Yankees would make a donation anyway if they didn't want to wear them. Hey, sure, here's a check.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fairly certain the Yankees wouldn't, just because their brand is so iconic. They don't like to stray from it.
Right.
But with the Mets, I mean, I liked what back in when they came back from 9/11, when the Mets were wearing those hats that it said FD and then it had the NY logo for the Mets and then PD after that, so that it represented the firemen and the policemen all on the same hat. I thought that was great. Yeah. And put something together like that, maybe an updated version of it or something, or let the players kind of work on some sort of design that makes it appealing for the players. Chances are, if it's appealing for the players, it'll be appealing for the fans.
And Pete Alonso did something. He was told he couldn't do the hat, so he made cleats with his own money.
With his own money,
and I'm sure if that's part of the money he made from the what is it?
The home run derby.
Home run derby. So
no, he already donated 10% of that to 9/11 charities.
So
or first responder charities.
So I'm sure some of those cleats are going to get donated. I would assume so. But that was a great deal. That's how you embrace New York. Some people come to New York, they never learn how to embrace it. What Pete Alonso did is what you do to embrace New York, and New York will embrace you.
And have New Yorkers embrace you. Of course, New Yorkers embraced Pete Alonso a long time ago. I mean, the whole. First of all, he's got 48 home runs or whatever it is. That's enough to get people to embrace you. But he's also got a cool nickname, Polar Bear, that he's embraced with that. Right. So there's a lot of things to like about Pete Alonso, and he gets it. He gets it. He's a smart kid. He doesn't say stupid stuff. He respects the game. He respects his teammates, the opponents. He's I hate to say it, brother, because you'll get mad because it's a Yankee, but he's Jeter-like. He's Jeter-like in his mannerisms and how he acts and how he carries himself.
Okay. I like Jeter. There's nothing wrong with Jeter.
So that means he's a classy guy, and he's got a brain in his head, and keep using it.
Will he date Mariah Carey?
No, because he's got a brain in his head.
Anyway, we're going to take a break right now. You're listening to 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College, from the Press Box. If you want to give us a call, please do, 516-572-7440. Tim, you're on Twitter at
Real Tim Leonard.
Tired of your Politica being like this? Then join the Friendly Filibuster. Tuesday nights at 7 on 90.3 WHPC. You'll get your politics with a scone and a cup of tea.
Hi, Miss Moore. Let's go down to the Cape and discuss implications of Trump's actions on the porter.
Mr. Jimmy, I do believe you're off your rocker.
Fellas, I can see that you both have good points, but I agree with the prosecution.
You call that a snob accent? Guys, this has gone far enough. Haim, just take us out.
Travel with Dynamite Airlines. Flight so comfortable, you're bound to have a blast.
Guys!
Sorry, wrong script. Join us on the Friendly Filibuster, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHBC. Don't worry, we'll get it right by the time you get here.
Okay. Yo!
Tell your friends about the Nassau Morning Madhouse. Hear what you're missing.
Check it out.
Check it out!
There's this pizzeria in Florida. If you get a tattoo of their logo, you get free pizza for life. Yeah, I would put it on my rump.
Right? Yeah. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
It's all muscle. I don't know about you. My rump's all fat.
Well,
okay.
I have very
you need
little
to build up that bum.
Thick.
Is there anything you wouldn't do? Say Panera did a thing saying, oh, you got to do this to get free food, but you're like, oh, no.
Person.
Yeah, kind of like that. I mean, is there anything that you would be like, no? Yeah, and it's permanent, too.
Could you imagine?
You have to be
White Castle just comes out of nowhere. You have to kill a human being. Then every time you go there, you just throw the corpse on the counter.
The Nassau Morning Madhouse. Weekday mornings from 7 to 9. On the voice of Nassau Community College.
90.3 WHPC.
Shake off the realities of the day, broaden your musical horizons, and embrace the diversity every Monday afternoon at 5 for 2 hours of Revelations. The show offers a potently unique collection of music with an emphasis on themes and rock rarities, an occasional tour de force of blues and soul, mixed with compelling sets of folk and folk rock. I'm Steve K, and I've got the perfect soundtrack for your drive home every Monday afternoon at 5. On Revelations, right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
The Money Man. You know, brother, if you think about this song, this is his Born to Run. About getting out of someplace.
Exactly.
You know?
I always liked Eddie Money.
Eddie, you know, it's funny.
I wasn't like a big star, but he was a star.
He was a normal person star.
Yeah.
He was really happy to be a star. He was wearing suits when people weren't wearing suits in rock. You know, in the late 70s, you know, he was wearing suits. And he always was a little off in his look.
Wow.
But it was part of who he was. So
nothing wrong with looking good.
No.
That's what it's about.
and
It's
Long
like
Island guy.
I was wearing suits when I covered college hockey games up in Albany. Nobody else was wearing suits.
No, you were.
Nobody else had the respect.
You were setting the trends back then.
I actually was. People started dressing better when I got there and started wearing suits.
Okay, brother. Are the Giants going to be 0-16?
I'll have to look at the schedule. I don't know. We're talking Giants? I mean, right now, I'll tell you what. The Giants are an embarrassment. They have one good player on their team, and that's Saquon Barkley. And the rest of them, I would get rid of them all. And
Eli's gone, isn't he?
Yeah, he's gone. There's nothing there. There's nothing left. But that being said, I couldn't name a single Giants wide receiver. They're hurt. They're suspended. Golden Tate is still on serving a 4-game suspension. He's got 2 more games left. Sterling Shepard is in concussion protocol.
Right.
And those are their 2 best receivers by far. Somebody yesterday, I think his name was T.J. Smith. T.J. somebody, I don't know. But he played fairly well yesterday. I mean, the Giants right now are so bereft of wide receivers or good wide receivers that passing downs are going to be like a 3 tight end set.
Right.
Which was supposed to be a formation for a power run, and instead that's going to be their passing formation. It's ridiculous what is going on and what has happened. And all this is going to do, because as the losses pile up, the calls will come. Daniel Jones. Start Daniel Jones. We need Daniel Jones to play. We need him to start learning the position since he's going to be the guy taking over next season.
I think the question with Daniel Jones is once you put him in, you can't take him out. So I think
that's fine.
Yeah, but let's say he's really bad.
And how would that be any different from the first 2 games?
Nothing. But let's say
the first 2 games have been embarrassing.
I know, but let's say he's your guy. And
he is the guy.
Okay,
we're not saying it. He is.
Let's say after Game 6, I say, okay, Eli, it's been good. Thanks a lot. You'll be in the Hall of Fame one day, maybe.
That is going to happen. You say it like it's a maybe. It is going to happen
really?
At some point.
He's had some bad years, man.
I don't know what week it's going to happen, but
I'm talking about Eli being in the Hall of Fame.
Oh no, I'm talking about the thanks for everything, but
I think it's after week 6 if the Giants are 1-5 or whatever. I think, and then
to me it doesn't matter what week it is.
Well,
and the reason it doesn't is because it's inevitable, and it's just a matter of how long do the Giants want to keep the charade going that they're just about to turn it around. Because this is a bad football team. And the thing that kills me, and probably kills any Giant fan in the metropolitan area, is how bad the defense is. The defense is god-awful. This is a franchise that has made its name on defense. Every successful team they ever had was led by their defense. And this defense is one of the worst in the league. It's maybe not as bad as the Dolphins, because the Dolphins are god-awful.
Right.
But if it wasn't for the Dolphins, I'd be looking at this season, and the Jets and the Giants last year picked, 3 and 6 in the draft?
Yep.
I would think that it would even be worse this year. Like both of our teams would have top 4 picks. That's how bad it's going to be. This is not going to be a good football season, in any way whatsoever. First of all, you got the Jets. Sam Darnold was diagnosed last week with mononucleosis. I said to some friends, I said it usually takes longer than Game 2 for the Jets season to be over, but the Jets season is over. I'm seeing these delusional reports that unless Sam Darnold has some strain of mononucleosis I never heard of, that they're saying he could be back in Game 5.
No way.
Which is insane. Mononucleosis, for those of you who don't know, and I had mononucleosis.
I remember.
It swells up your spleen. All right? Do you really want 300-pound, huge, fast, physical guys to hit your quarterback potentially in the spleen while it's swollen.
Nope.
If it's unnecessary. First of all, if the spleen ruptures, you die.
Bye-bye.
So is that worth it? Is that worth putting Sam Darnold's, not only his health, but his life in jeopardy for a team that more than likely by week 5 is going to be 0-5? Or week 6, whatever. But the Jets have a bye week in week 4. And that's what people are pinning their hopes on. Like somehow you don't rehab mono.
No,
you wait to get better. That's all you can do.
It leaves you.
Exactly.
It doesn't say, well, if we exercise it, we'll leave faster.
You can't treat it. You can't rehab it away.
Nope.
You can't treat it away. It's one of those things that just takes time. It's like gaining experience. Only time will help fix it.
Yep.
And that I can tell you, when I had mono, and I apparently had a very light case of it. My doctor told me I didn't get like full blown mono, but I still had it. I can tell you, I felt fine for extended stretches of a day.
I remember.
But then out of nowhere, crippling fatigue.
I don't remember that.
It would happen. It would just happen to me like once or twice a day, where it was like whatever I was doing is like, all right, I got to sit down, because if I don't sit down, I'm going to fall down. It happened to me at work a few times.
Right. 'Cause you kept working. I know that.
I had to go in the back and just sit down. I told my boss, I said, look, I'm here, I'm working, but there might be times where I just need to sit, and I don't want to hear from you after 5 minutes. Oh, what are you doing? Get up and get back out there. No, I got to sit, and whatever happens, I got to just it'll pass in about 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is. I said, but if it happens here, then I'm sitting for that long until I feel better, because otherwise, like I said, I don't want to fall down, and that's how bad it is. Your body just all of the strength leaves it, and Sam Darnold can't have that happen to him on a football field. He can't all of a sudden just. I mean, what's he going to do? Call timeout and say, "Hey, coach, you got to put Trevor Siemian in." I can't do. I got to lay down.
No, that's not the way it works.
So if the guy is anything close to that, I mean, the people who I've spoken to about say that Darnold's going to be out for 2 months, and I think that's a more likely timeline than week 5. Okay. I don't know if he'll be out that long, 2 months.
Well, 2 months is November 16th, around there. I think it's after Thanksgiving, but that's.
I don't think it'll be that long. But again, it depends on the severity of it, because there are different severities to mononucleosis. But it also has to do with how much do the Jets want to protect this kid? They should want to protect him.
Of course, he's their future.
And let's face it, this is not a good Jets team.
Not at all.
So that's the other thing is that. They're playing Monday Night Football tonight against the Browns. Let's face it, the Browns are angry. They got embarrassed last week. This is a team that was getting all kinds of hype in the preseason. The crazy people were saying, oh, the Browns are going to the Super Bowl. I never said that. I think they'll be a much improved team, but I don't think they're a real contender until next year.
I think the Browns woke up last year, and all of a sudden, they're like, oh, wow, we're back. And I'm not sure they're back yet. I think Baker Mayfield is their future. He's, I think, a very good quarterback.
He makes things happen.
Yeah,
that's why. The Browns last year, they got a Baker last year. They traded for a Butcher this year, and Odell Beckham Jr. They still need the candlestick maker. They need that third guy.
Well, thank you, Mr. Powick.
Thank you. That's what I do.
And, of course, we should say the Browns and Jets are playing tonight, Monday Night Football, which doesn't have the same feel as years ago. But the first Monday Night Football was the Browns versus the Jets.
How about that?
Back when Joe Willie was the quarterback, who is still the most popular quarterback right now for the Jets. He's 75 years old, and he could probably play around.
No.
No.
He's an old man.
I know. You know what I'm talking about.
Old man running around on one knee. If that.
Hey,
probably
he's always said that if they had what they had today to fix knees, he would have had no problem.
Oh, yeah, of course. That was the problem with his knee, is because they couldn't operate on it. They just wrapped it up as tight as they could, and and said, "All right, Joe, make sure you protect yourself, kid."
And Joe, when Ben Davidson comes in and wants to kick your butt, just get out of the way.
Takes a big swing at your head. So anyway, like I said, the Jets play the Browns tonight. I can't see the Jets winning that game, and then they have the Patriots next week.
Oh, it's gonna be fun.
So hello, 0-3.
Yep.
So where do you go from there? I mean, any NFL teams that start 0-3, that's not a formula for making the playoffs.
No, and it's interesting that the Bills. I wonder if they stayed in New York all week or if they went back.
They did.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, they did.
So the first 2 weeks they're in New York having a vacation basically against the Jets and the Giants. And that's kind of fun.
Yeah, best team in New York is the Bills.
You know, you imagine that you're just like the king of New York for 2 weeks. Oh yeah, we beat up the Jets and the Giants.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Schedule Maker, for giving us both teams.
I don't remember that ever happening. Where
it probably hasn't.
Where the team played the Jets and then the Giants, or the Giants and then the Jets, back and forth like that.
It probably has never happened, with good reason. It was kind of ridiculous scheduling. All right, so Trevor Siemian is the starter for the Jets tonight.
Right.
Wow, what a drop off.
Yeah, it is. But
Trevor Siemian was with the Broncos. He was terrible.
Yep.
If he was any good, with all the quarterback problems that the Broncos have had in the last 5 years, if Trevor Siemian was any good, he'd be starting for the Broncos.
That's true.
All right, Trevor Siemian, he's basically Geno Smith. You know, I heard people laughing last week after Darnold got diagnosed with the mono. Oh, let's give Mark Sanchez a call. No.
Oh, I think
no.
I said that.
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Ugh. First of all,
he's not going to do it.
Sanchez has a TV job.
Yeah.
The last thing Sanchez is thinking about doing is leaving the TV job. That's his future. Hang on to that for as long as he can. Make as much money as he can, and then hopefully by the time he's 40, he doesn't have to work anymore if he's lucky. He probably doesn't have to work anymore anyway. But he didn't make that much money as an NFL quarterback.
No, but
he never did get that second contract.
Yeah, but I'm sure he made enough to get by.
Well, he was what number 5 draft pick in the NFL draft.
Yeah,
you make a nice chunk of change, but depending on what kind of house he bought, and did he buy mom and dad a house? And how many cars did he buy? The money goes quick.
Well,
especially on that rookie contract. All of a sudden, see the problem with the rookie contracts is guys think they're rich. Like guys think they can spend as much as they want rich. And you're not. You have a lot of money, yes, absolutely. But you also have a lot of expenses. You know, if you're an NFL player or an NBA player, you're not living in the Avalon apartments over there.
Right.
You know, you're living in a mansion. So you're living. Like who was it? Curtis Martin lived in Woodbury. Was that who Bob said? Bob Tuck.
Yeah.
So that's where you're living. You're living in money areas, and you're living in mansions in money areas.
Yeah. Well.
So those cost.
Yeah, but they're not big costs.
Yes, they are big costs. They're several $1 million.
Yeah, but
all right. Now, yes, when you stop playing for that team, you sell them and you get either a lot of that money back or maybe even make a profit. But that is money that at that point you cannot use because it's not liquid.
Yeah, well, so. I'm sure if you were a football player, need a little money, want to sell your house, you make sure that you know who's in here. Emmitt Smith visited or something.
Well, Trevor Siemian does not have that kind of name recognition. Trevor Siemian might be living in the Avalon because he never knows how long he's still actually going to be in town for.
Well, we're going
until he gets caught.
We're going to take a break right now. You're listening to From the Press Box right here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. My name is Rob Leonard. This show becomes a podcast later on at Spreaker.com.
A Super Bowl champion, U.S. Congressman, publisher of Long Island Business News, award-winning authors, physical fitness, life coach, and celebrities like Billy Crystal and Eddie Murphy. I had no idea so many awesome people got their start at Nassau Community College.
Located on 225 acres in Garden City, Long Island, Nassau Community College, a member of the State University of New York System, has close to 20,000 students attend the school each year. The college mascot is Leo the Lion, and Lion Tales are his stories of the school's absolute best and brightest who have graduated over the past 50-plus years. Hosted by Aurora Workman, the president of Nassau Community College Alumni Association, and Dr. Linda Nadian, a proud Nassau graduate. Let's catch up together as the Alumni Association of Nassau Community College proudly presents Lion Tales, a Nassau Community College Foundation production. Listen every Monday afternoon at 3:30 on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hi, everyone. This is Bob Petrowski, better known in WHPC circles as New York Polka Bob. Maybe you're trying to get back to your roots, or maybe you're just tired of the same old top 40 songs. If you're looking for something new, something different, something to help you forget your troubles for a moment, then maybe the Polka Beat Ukrainian Melody Time is the place for you. Polka Bob every Monday night at 8 p.m., bringing you the best in polkas, Ukrainian melodies from yesterday and today. Maybe you'll hear something your grandma used to sing, or maybe you'll hear something that's a pop tune that's gone polka style. That's Polka Beat every Monday night at 8 p.m., the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Also available on the iHeartRadio app.
We're back here on From the Press Box right here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. I am Rob Leonard. He, of course, is Tim Leonard. And on the phone with us, back for his third straight year, talking about the USTA at Flushing Meadows. Independent tennis observer Dan DeRosalia. Dan, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
How are you?
We're doing well, and for those who are just tuning in and say, why are you talking about U.S. Open? Well, last week I was in the hospital, and I wanted to talk about this, but I was in the hospital. So we're catching up a little bit of what happened. And actually it was, I thought, a pretty good tournament, per se. I was shocked that Venus – I was shocked that Serena lost. I really thought she was going to win because – there was so much going on, a good story along with her. What happened with Serena? Let's start off there.
Well, I think what we've seen with Serena is what we've seen with Serena for the past year and a half. She's made 4 of the last 6 major finals dating back to 2018 Wimbledon. And she's 0-4 in those finals. She's lost to 4 different opponents, and she's lost each of them in straight sets. So she seems to have the ability on her talent alone to get there. And then something happens in these finals. This girl that beat her is the real deal. She's 19 years old. She's lost 4 matches the entire year. She hasn't lost a match since early March. So I don't think it was a big fluke that she lost. And these girls, they're not afraid of Serena anymore. Serena can be beat, and they know it. And Serena gets nervous in these finals. And it kind of just manifolds. It keeps coming and coming and coming, and she can't seem to get herself together.
Well, she plays well getting there. I mean, that's the thing. You would think, especially after the semifinals, I'm like, she's really going to kick some butt in the finals, and then she sort of fell apart.
Well, I think with Serena, you can tell right away. So in the second point in the match, when Serena's nervous, she doesn't move her feet. And in the second point of the match, she hit an open stance backhand out, and I said, oh, she's nervous because she can't move her. She's not moving. That was the first game of the match, and she ended up double faulting the final 2 points to lose the game. And I said, oh, she's in big trouble. I knew right off the bat.
Wow. Dan, too bad you couldn't get a message to her.
Dan, let me ask you this. Is any of this fatigue related? I mean, obviously, I'm not going to say that Serena is old. I mean, she obviously still has enough to get to the final. But 7 matches in 2 weeks, is that can we kind of get to the point now where we might be able to say that it might be too much for her at this point?
No, I don't think we can. This is my stance on the majors. I think the majors, in terms of fatigue, are easier than the Masters 1000 events or the Premier 5 events, where you have to win 6 matches in 6 days to win, where they don't give you a day off in between. Serena had to win 7 matches over 2 weeks. She had a a semifinal match against Svitolina where she lost 4 games. She had a round of 16 match against the top 20 player that she won in 40 minutes. I don't think fatigue is the issue. I think the issue is nerves.
Just because she's on the cusp of that record, or?
Well, I think that's part of it, and she's made a big deal about doing this for motherhood, and she's kind of put herself out there that she wants to achieve this goal since having a child, and I think she's put a lot of pressure on herself, and she hasn't been able to do it. The other thing I do want to say, though, you have to credit these opponents. I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Andreescu was brilliant in the final. Halep was brilliant at Wimbledon.
Halep was phenomenal in that match. I watched that.
Every opponent that Serena's lost to has been great. She hasn't played her best, but the opponent deserves credit too.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're talking with Dan DeRosalia, independent tennis observer, about the U.S. Open that happened. And by the way, one of the opening matches, the opening match for Serena was against Maria Sharapova, which in, I guess, earlier time might have been considered a better match. Sharapova is over, isn't she?
She was not good in that match.
I think it's about over for Sharapova. She hasn't really been able to come back from her performance-enhancing drug suspension the way she wanted. She's had shoulder issues. She's serving first serves under 100 miles an hour. Yeah, when you watch the match, you say, okay, Serena was real good, but you can also watch that match and see why Sharapova's ranking is now over 100 in the world. She's just not the same.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, she's certainly not hitting the ball with the authority she used to, and I didn't think her movement was very good either.
It wasn't. I would agree.
Yeah.
She left the U.S. Open, and she hooked up with Mark Cuban's show, so I think she knows that the time is coming.
Okay, well, you got to plan ahead in the tennis world. You're all alone basically. So,
I think what a lot of my opinion is what a lot of these players are going to do is they're hanging on for 2020 so they can play the Tokyo Olympics, and then that will probably be it after that.
Because I was going to ask you, it seems like we're starting to see more younger players making their moves in the tennis world, and I'm wondering if we're in the middle of a transition that, looking back, we would say, oh, that's when the transition happened. But are we in that middle of it right now?
I think we are. There are so many good young players ranked between 17 and 21, especially on the female side. On the men's side, not so much. But on the female side, there's a young American, Amanda Anisimova, who was a semifinalist at the French Open. She unfortunately didn't play in the U.S. Open because her father and coach passed away 1 week before it started, so she withdrew. Sophia Kenin is a 20-year-old American who beat Serena at the French Open. Andreescu's 19. We barely talk about Naomi Osaka. She's a has-been, right? She's 21.
Right.
I mean, there's so many good young players coming up now that, yeah, I think the older generation, the Wozniacki's, the Sharapovas, I think they're going to get pushed out here, and it's going to be time for the new group.
Dan, talk a little bit about, you mentioned Naomi Osaka, and obviously that, I think, was one of the best moments, if not the best moment of the U.S. Open, was when, after she defeated Coco Gauff, that she told Coco to stick around for the interview, and it was really kind of a mentoring moment. And like you said, I mean, here's a 21-year-old, and let's face it, she's still a kid, and a 15-year-old who's really a kid, and they had this really wonderful moment after the match. Just talk a little bit about that. Give me your take as far as what you saw and what you liked about it.
Oh, I loved it. I mean, it was everything you want your athletes to be, right? The moment was better than the tennis match. So she had struck up a friendship with Coco Gauff in the locker room prior, and I think that probably helped contribute to what she did.
Right.
I thought Osaka said something really interesting when talking about it. She said, after the match, we go back to the locker room and we cry, and then we go in. We talk about how we felt about the match and how we feel about where we are with our careers in press. And our fans don't go into the transcripts of the press and read how we feel, so they don't really know.
Right.
So it's better if we just talk to them directly. And that was the point she was trying to get across to Coco Gauff. And from what I understand, Coco Gauff actually thanked her privately afterwards that she allowed her to do that. I just thought it was a great moment.
I'm not a big fan of the on-court interview after the match. I think sometimes the player just needs to get out and start to decompress a little bit. And a lot of times they don't say anything of of importance anyway. But at the same time, I thought that was a very touching moment. So I can't complain about that one. I thought that was very touching.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't think a lot of people would have done it. So credit to Osaka.
Yeah. Let's talk about the men. Everyone wanted Federer and Nadal. It didn't happen. Roger Federer is, did he have to go to the bathroom to leave the court for that time, or he after he came back, he had no energy at all.
Yeah, I think Federer had a back injury. He might be somebody who I think might suffer at the back end of these hard court tournaments. And over the last 2 years, his hard court results haven't been great. They've kind of come down a little bit. He's been losing early in some of the majors. He lost earlier than expected to Tsitsipas at the Australian Open. He lost to John Millman in the fourth round of the U.S. Open last year. The hard court is pretty tough on the body, and at his age, it doesn't surprise me that getting into the second week of the tournament, he suffered from an injury that hampered him in the fifth set of a major. That's not a big surprise to me.
Well, it's how many more Federer and Nadal finals are we going to see anyway? I mean, is it starting with the men also to, the break is happening, the transition is happening?
Sure, but the interesting thing is we've never seen it at the U.S. Open. So I think they've played 4 times at every other major, and they've never played once at the U.S. Open, which is fascinating.
Oh, wow. I did not realize that. I liked the men's playing this year. I thought like I said, we've talked about this on and off mic. I wish the women would play 3 out of 5. You gave a great reason why they shouldn't, but I like the big tournaments when they have the 3 out of 5. I thought the men's 3 out of 5s were good. It was a nice feeling to see a match go more than an hour and a half.
The men's 2 weeks at the Open was better than last year, and the reason why it was better than last year is because of the weather. Last year the weather was so hot. There was one day early in the tournament where there was 7 or 8 retirements because the players just couldn't play through the heat. I think it's a big reason why Federer lost to Millman at the Open is the oppressive humidity, even though the match was at night. This year, the 2 weeks, it was very mild, and I think it lent to better tennis and better matches.
Don't they close the roof when it gets too hot?
Well, sure.
Well, it's not going to do too much. It's still hot.
That's two of the 25 stadiums, though there's lots of other outer court action where there are no roofs, and the other players that aren't Federer and Nadal, Djokovic have to deal with those conditions.
We're talking with independent tennis observer Dan DeRosalia, talking about the U.S. Open tennis that happened over at Flushing Meadows. Anything before we let you go, because we're running out of time? Anything else we should know about the U.S. Open and maybe what to look for down the road with tennis? I know you're a big tennis advocate and supporter, and I love tennis. I just think that I don't think they know how to publicize themselves except for the majors. So, it's it's interesting. I think tennis needs a little more animosity towards one another. The greatness about tennis was, in the 80s when everybody considers the romantic era of tennis. Right.
Was the bitter rivalries, the fact that Lendl was really hated. Some people disliked McEnroe, Connors, and they all played against each other. Tennis could use a little more of that. I think that will draw people to the television if everybody's not so lovey-dovey with one another.
Well, who's the guy who was screaming at the crowd?
That was the U.S. Open finalist, Daniil Medvedev, who lost 6-4 in the fifth to Nadal. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. You don't see that anymore.
It was fun.
It's almost like the agent saying, "Well, don't do that. You don't have to do that anymore."
Well, even Andreescu in her speech after the match, then they asked her what she felt like she had to overcome, and she said, the crowd.
Yeah, she was
because they were all
honest
rooting for Venus or Serena. I mean.
And she's very likable and very honest, and she's an alpha. She doesn't worry about that, so she got a kick out of it. Medvedev was funny. He actually came full circle, and by the end, even though he spent a week, tweaking the crowd, by the end the crowd kind of respected it and was rooting for him. So he had a real interesting 2 weeks at the Open.
Well, that's a New York crowd. You spit in their face, they're going to say, "Oh, okay. Well, you want to do that?" And then they become buddies with you. They go and take you out for a drink.
On some level, they respect it. That's right.
They respected the effort in the third and the fourth set, because I thought the first 2 sets he was terrible, and there were some points where to me he looked like a Saturday afternoon player. But
Here's the great thing. The great thing about Medvedev is that he has the ability to adjust his game on the fly when it's not going well, and a lot of players don't. They just play the way they play, and if it's not good enough, they lose.
Right.
So he started in with different tactics, and he did that against Djokovic in Cincinnati prior to coming to the U.S. Open too, and he ended up beating Djokovic in Cincinnati, and he took Nadal to 5, which was a tremendous tennis match.
True.
Dan, thanks for joining us. We've been talking to independent tennis observer Dan DeRosalia about the U.S. Open. We'll talk to you soon, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Take care. 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College, from the press box on your radio or your listening device. I am Rob Leonard. Tim Leonard is with me. Tim, we didn't really talk about the Yankees, but you know what? They're in first place. They're the
Indeed they are.
They're the number one team in baseball. Did you want to talk about maybe something else? Soccer or something, or... You know,
well, I mean, we still probably don't have a couple minutes.
4 minutes.
I want to point out to Yankee fans that Dylan Betances did return yesterday, finally, after being out for the entire season, and that Luis Severino is scheduled to pitch tomorrow. I believe that's against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. He will have the advantage of not having to pitch to Mike Trout because Mike Trout is having surgery on his foot for some sort of nerve issue that he's having. I also want to point out James Paxton, brother, is pitching like an ace. He has won every one of his last 9 starts.
It's amazing.
He's now 14-6. He's pitching like they thought he was going to pitch, like the guy they thought they were getting when they gave Justice Sheffield to the Seattle Mariners to acquire James Paxton.
Well, you know what? Say what you want about the Yankees. This has been maybe the most injured team.
Absolutely, without
the
a doubt,
amount of games that they lost from their starters and everyone else, and they're still in first place. One of the number one team in baseball. We're tied right now.
The magic number is 4, brother.
For what?
To clinch the division.
Well, how can they not?
Well, stuff happens, you know. They have clinched a playoff spot.
You say stuff happens. Meanwhile, the Mets are over.
Well, I'm not saying they're over. I said it's possible, but I said it's highly unlikely.
Okay. Well, by the way,
because
brother,
the Mets have been a 500 team.
I know you care about this. The Unforgettables every Saturday at 9 p.m.
Love them.
Join Michael Anthony as he presents 2 hours of jazz and standards with artist profiles and guests who make the music happen. That's the Unforgettables every Saturday at 9 p.m. right here at 90.3 WHPC. We got about a minute left. Big Ed's here, brother.
Quick soccer update for you, brother.
Sure.
Your Liverpool got their 5th win in 5 games.
Right.
They beat Newcastle 3-1.
Liverpool.
Couple goals for Sadio Mane. My Tottenham destroyed Crystal Palace 4-0. Heung-min Son had a pair of goals for Spurs. Those were his first 2 of the season. Nice spirited performance after a little up and down to start the season for Spurs. But now Spurs are in 3rd place. The shocker of the weekend, though, brother. 2-time defending champion Manchester City falls to injury-ravaged Norwich City 3-2. Stunning game. Manchester City was terrible. And the other shocker was Arsenal giving up a late goal to finish in a 2-2 draw with Watford. Very, very, very disappointing result for the Gooners, and I'm quite pleased about it.
Of course you are, brother. You're laughing at any team that's not Tottenham. You laugh at.
No, I despise Arsenal.
Oh,
Arsenal's right up there with the Red Sox.
Really? Aren't they owned by? Don't the Yankees have an agreement with Arsenal?
No.
Who are the Yankees?
They used to have one with Manchester. Well, they probably have one now with Manchester City because Manchester City is on the Yes Network. But they a long time ago had an agreement with Manchester United.
Right. That's right.
So
anyway, another good show, brother.
As usual.
That's Tim Leonard over there. I'm
Welcome
Rob
back,
Leonard.
brother. Glad you're healthy.
Well, you know,
going
to the doctor at 12
let's
o'clock.
not say healthy yet.
Yeah, I don't want to say. I don't want to. I didn't want to say.
Let's
I'm
say
back.
working on it.
I'm working on it. There's a lot of things I got to take care of.
Let's get it done, brother.
And we want to thank Big Ed last week for filling in for us for the hour.
Good job, Big Ed.
Because you know, what are we going to do?
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Big Ed. I thought about you, but I didn't listen to the show. Usually, I listen to the show when I'm not here.
They don't have radios in the hospital.
Well, that's why you have your phone. You put it on your cell phone. So I was saying, I know Big Ed's there. I don't have to call him, because it's Big Ed. Anyway, thank you all for listening. My name is Rob Leonard. This show is here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. It becomes a podcast later on Spreaker.com and iHeartRadio.com or the app. And also, thank you. And we'll see you on Friday with Beatles songs. I'll see you on Sunday with the Free for All. And Timmy and I will see you back in 167 hours with more from the Press Box.
The views expressed on air are not necessarily those of WHPC, its management, or Nassau Community College. Responsible opposing viewpoints will be considered by emailing them to whpc@ncc.edu or by mail at WHPC 1 Education Drive, Garden City, New York 11530. Thanks for listening to the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.